Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. We are going live today with Michali to answer a question that's been posted on our forum. Hope everybody's week is going well and everybody's day is going well. Hello Amanda, thank you for joining. We're just waiting for Michali to pop on. Hello Miriam. Hello Michali. Let's see. Accept. Hello Gitty. And another Gitty.
Hello.
Hi Michali, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Feels like we did not do this last week, so I must have had a really long week.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long week. I think given, for those of you that celebrate Pesach, I mean, it's in full swing, just the
Totally.
prep and the plans. It's like not just like one big project, it's a million big projects. A
Totally.
million little big projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's nice to see you as always. It's a breath of
Likewise.
fresh air.
Likewise, honestly. Okay, anyways, we have a good question today. Not even like
Yes.
inappropriate, but it's for every season, I guess. It's not like Pesach specific, I guess.
Yeah. So it's from M Love. It says, "Hi. I have a lot of self-doubt, so I wanted to get some clarity on this. I started therapy a few months ago. Before each session, I get super nervous, probably because of my general anxiety. Once I'm there, I'm really relieved and I feel totally comfortable. But is it normal to feel nervous before the session? Also, I really like my therapist. She's really sweet and I feel very comfortable around her. Is it normal that after the session, I want to go back and I look forward to it every week? Of course, there are times where I'm not in the mood and I really dread it, but most of the time I enjoy it. I just wanted to get some clarity on this. I might sound contradictory but it's because I like it and at the same time it's exhausting. I just doubt it a lot and I just want to make sure it's okay."
It's a good question.
So
What are your thoughts?
it's a great question. And it's funny because I actually had this idea to write an art. This was like a few years ago, actually, right before the pandemic, to write an article about the manual for therapy. Because as clients, we're just kind of doing our own thing, and sometimes we live in a community where there's a lot of stigma, so it's not like we can compare notes with our friends.
Mm.
And we want to know, is this experience normal? What can I expect? What's appropriate for my therapist to do or say? What's appropriate for me to do or say? Um, what feelings can I expect to have? Just all of it.
That's a good idea.
Um,
I still want that article. Do you want to write
you
it?
still want that article? I gotta send it your way. I actually pulled I started writing it, and I
Yeah.
pulled a bunch of therapists, and asked them, what are some things you wish clients would know
Mm.
about the work, just even from a logistics point of view. So yeah, for another time. But
Yeah.
I think that everything that this person is feeling is completely normal.
Mhm.
I think that, I oftentimes, when I was working at YCQ in New York, I would ask the kids that I worked with, I'm like, do you want me to be a cheerleader or do you want me to be a coach? Right? A cheerleader is somebody where, you can go to vent and they're going to support you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to rah-rah you. Right? And a coach is someone who's going to give you guidance based, hopefully, on evidence-based practices, and is going to not just hear you vent, but also going to kind of help you get to whatever your goals are,
Mm.
your therapeutic goals. And so there's no right or wrong way to do therapy. You can come to vent, you can come to have a cheerleader, and you can also come to get coached and guidance, and maybe sometimes even a mix of the two. Um, but if you are coming um, for the second one, then you should be prepared for any and all feelings to surface, especially when you're going deep and doing the hard work. And yeah, it's exhausting. It can be absolutely exhausting. Sometimes you may walk out of a therapy room feeling like on top of the world. Sometimes you might walk, out feeling like, oh my God, I have so much clarity and someone gets me. And that feels just oh so good. And sometimes you walk out feeling depressed or more anxious because things were brought up. Hopefully you have a therapist that you trust, that you can, really start to digest some of those emotions. And one of the practical pieces of guidance I would give this person is bring this up to your own therapist, because that's going to only improve your therapeutic relationship. I mean, it sounds like that you really like this therapist, and it sounds like that you're in the right place to help with that generalized anxiety that you mentioned. And I think if there's a way to maybe leave this session feeling a little bit less exhausted or having tools to deal with that exhaustion so you can kind of transition back into regular day out of session life, that's worth a conversation with your own therapist.
Totally.
Um,
And like they say,
those are my first thoughts.
yeah, perfect. And I pretty much share the same sentiments. Like they say, everything that happens in the therapeutic relationship is kind of a microcosm for what goes on outside. So it's very likely
Yeah,
that you're also having these kind of feelings, like the duality of like different emotions in other situations
yeah,
in life that you might not be aware of or in touch with, or yeah, even acknowledging, right? Like that anxiety with that excitement. Also, they say like anxiety and excitement are really the same feelings. It's just the way you are perceiving
mm,
them, and it's perception. Like they're opposite sides of the same coin, they say, or they're the same thing, and you can channel your anxiety to excitement. So, I'm wondering as I'm talking, is the anxiety that you feel before session almost like a looking forward anxiety? You know what I'm saying? Or is it like anxiety
yeah.
paralyzing? You know?
That's such a good point. I mean, the pleasure and pain centers of the brain are really close together. So, the anxiety might, manifest it like as a painful kind of experience, while the excitement is obviously more pleasurable. But I think that's such a good point to ask is like, where are you feeling it in your body? Kind of like from a somatic lens, and like what, is this just this anticipation of what's going to happen? And maybe there's more to uncover just psychologically with this person, right? Like, I don't know the person's background, attachment style, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
so that can also inform that, that the way that they're attaching to their own therapist, right? We're getting a question here. Why do we diagnose generalized anxiety as a disorder when it's merely a symptom, i.e., trauma response? That is a great question.
Maybe we
I
could
mean, in
another live.
Yeah, maybe we can do that in another live. I mean, like I'll just say like a very, very short answer is that it can be a symptom, it can also be a diagnosis. It's considered both. But
Cool.
what?
No, I said cool. Like I wouldn't have even have like thought of that or known that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, according to the DSM,
Mhm.
but obviously the DSM has its own,
Right. Like definitely anxiety can be a thing.
pitfalls.
Like it makes so much sense. I just never thought of it like that. But it can also be its own thing, right? Like not necessarily a trauma response unless you go with the, belief that everyone has trauma, right? Like everybody experienced trauma.
Right,
And everything's
right,
any symptom we have can be a trauma response, I guess. Um,
right, right.
but back to this question, yeah, I think like to summarize this, the idea is that all feelings are normal, even having such like opposing feelings or seemingly opposing feelings, even though like you said they're pretty close because the pleasure center and the pain, like it's close in the brain, which I also didn't know, which is so cool.
Yeah,
But also
yeah,
that even though it's a totally normal confusion and experience, it's a good idea to discuss it with your therapist because it's information about you and it's going to help you progress further into understanding you.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think, look, it's hard work. And I always tell people, like, I think I actually did, I posted this, like a few months ago on my Instagram, like
Mhm.
sometimes self-care is going to therapy and sometimes self-care is not going to therapy. And, and I'm saying this as a therapist who really, really believes in the transformative power of therapy,
Mhm.
that sometimes it's
Yeah,
better for your self-care to skip a session, obviously, in the within the guidelines of the cancellation policy. But
exactly.
um, but like, but I think sometimes we need to take a nap and for the hour that we're in therapy. Sometimes we need to, immerse ourselves in nature, and that's more therapeutic and more healing.
Exactly.
So I would say while you're processing this with your therapist, also honor where you're at, and if you're finding that you're dreading going to therapy, again, bring that up to your therapist. But also if there's a particular week where you're just like, oh, I can't get to that deep part of myself right now. It's Pesach time. I'm not in that mode, whatever it is, right? Then do something else. Fill that time with a self-care, that really gives you that input.
Love that. Yeah, I'm also a big believer in that, like self care, sometimes not doing self care, like what we consider self care,
Yeah.
not doing it.
Yeah.
stressing ourselves to like make that yoga class is more self-care than making that yoga class, you know, like I'm
Oh,
a
for sure.
so
For sure. We have a joke in my house that like I become like a crazy person whenever I read any therapeutic books because I'm just like, we need to do this now and that now and this now and this now, and it's like sometimes it's just about sitting and not taking any information that you're using and just being and being present and breathing
exactly.
and kind of tuning in inward, as opposed to like kind of outputting.
I love that
So yeah.
message. That totally pertains to this time of year. So we totally segued into like making this applicable for like pre-Pesach. All right. Thanks so much, Michali. Thank you
Yeah.
for tuning in. And we will not be here next week because we will be on a Holomoid break, but we will be here the following week. So everyone have a beautiful
Yeah.
move and stay well and stay healthy and happy. Thanks.
Have a chag kasher v'sameach. Take care.
Dude, take care.
Bye.